There's a lot to consider in the upcoming election. One of the biggest issues expected to be abortion.
A 6-week abortion ban that starts today in Florida has implications here in North Carolina. WUCT's Ava Bringord spoke to officials on both sides of the debate. Ava, officials at clinics here in Wilmington tell you they expect to see more patients from Florida because of this new law.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Fran. North Carolina is the closest state for women in Florida to travel to for care after 6 weeks, a time period when many women don't even know they're pregnant.
An abortion ban sending shockwaves across the Southeast.
It's scary. It is scary.
For both sides of the spectrum.
We do not want North Carolina to be a destination for abortion.
That could be a reality with Florida's new 6-week abortion ban taking effect. The ban sending North Carolina clinics scrambling.
Even our best efforts to expand capacity and optimize patient flow will not be enough to stem the tide of demand.
While pro-life organizations are celebrating.
We want it to be a destination for life.
North Carolina now outlaws abortions after 12 weeks of pregnancy, with a few exceptions. It's one of the most lax bans in the South, second to Virginia. In 2021, more than 32,000 women in North Carolina had an induced abortion. Around 5,000 of those were from out of state. To put it in perspective, Florida's latest numbers nearly triple that amount, possibly sending tens of thousands of women to North Carolina for treatment, an influx Planned Parenthood say they can't handle right now.
There is simply not enough capacity in North Carolina to absorb the tremendous patient demand that is going to surge out of Florida and across the entire region.
For those caught in the middle, women that could feel the brunt of the new restrictions, the future is more stressful now than ever.
Our mothers and our grandmothers, they had this right. And now it feels like we're getting it stripped away from us.
Officials with Planned Parenthood tell me they're looking at adding around 5 to 7 additional abortion service days to their schedules to accommodate the expected influx. And the 6-week ban will be on Florida's ballot come November. Voters will have the final say in whether that ban is here to stay. Fran?
All right, Ava, thanks.
New video tonight of the moment in